him a round of applause. Thanks for coming back for part 2.
No problem, glad to be here.
I think Mary has some more intense questions.
She's good at those.
I am really good at those. I want to start out your history, your experience, and your nonprofit, Aurafury. As an owner of nonprofit, can you tell us about your nonprofit organization and its mission? What motivated you to establish or get involved with it?
So Aurafury actually started as like a gaming club, basically, almost 13 years ago now. It was just friends and family got together, and we were trying to get it away from kind of the toxicity of the main gaming world into a space where we all just have fun together. We can hang out. We don't have to worry about people coming in and blowing up our base or whatever we built in the game. And kind of as time went on, we started starting servers, and we started inviting people from outside of the community in. And things went like that for quite a few years. And then COVID hit, and we started to recognize that there was kind of a need. To be 100% honest though, like the initial problem was we noticed that Eric and I, when we would run Aurafury, we were taking in enough money where we had to claim it in taxes now. And we didn't keep any of it. We always spent it right on back on the community. We were making a dime on it, but it was gonna start charging us the taxes, and that's what kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. But then we noticed during COVID that people enjoyed having this place to come and hang out and get away from everything that's going on. Of course, they had nowhere to go. And we didn't think it was that important at first because it's just what we've been doing for years. And then I got a message from somebody, and they said, Jacob, I just want you to know, I am alive today because of Aurafury. Because I had this outlet that I can go have fun with people and get away from it all. And of course, for this particular person, they were by themselves. They were isolated away from everyone. They had nobody to talk to except for online. And they had that one game space that they could go. And when that message came forward and we started talking about it on the board, it's like, well, what else could we represent? What else could we do? And we've had noticed a growing LGBTQ plus amount in our community. We had estimated it somewhere between 30 to 40%. And we didn't necessarily know where that came from initially. And though my brother has come out and he's part of that community now, but we didn't know that when we first started everything. So it wasn't initially kind of the reason why we did it all. But we noticed that there was this huge grouping of these folks that came in, and we had attracted them just by the fact that they're treated like human beings in our group. They could be whoever they wanted, and that happened just naturally in the community. It was just we treated everyone well. The admins were trying to do the same thing, and this is what it became. So we became this safe space without it ever being the goal. It just naturally came about, and we realized that's something we could provide, we can promote, and get more people in, and it didn't just have to be for like the LGBT plus community. It could be for anyone. Which you see that a lot with nonprofits these days is they target market a very specific group, and that's great because there's a cause that they're trying to help, but oftentimes there's people that they want help in some area. They don't know where to go because there's not some group that like calls out to just specifically them. But Aurafury is this group that anyone can join. You can just come in, hang out, play games, take part in any of the resources. We don't charge for anything. And that was kind of one of the big goals that we made too, is that there was never going to be a user fee. And it didn't matter if you were rich either. If you were rich, you come on in, have fun. It doesn't matter. And it created a situation too, where you had people that normally would not be around each other, and they're coming together and they're having fun. They're getting to know each other. So you could have somebody that's anti-LGBTQ+, for instance, and they're coming into a group of players that are LGBTQ+, and they're having fun with them. They're treating them like another human being, like they should, the basics, but people struggle with that. But it's it's a way of educating without being like the classroom, without telling them this is exactly what you have to do. This is what we're all about. It's like, no, you just come in here, you have fun, you get to know people, and then you realize these people aren't that different from you. And that's a way to break through to people that's a little different than the way a lot of other things. We're not in your face about any of it. We support minorities, LGBT plus and everything, but we aren't constantly advertising it. We aren't constantly putting it in their face because we want everybody to come together, have fun, get to know each other, and then they start to get past the biases and everything that are there, and it seems to be working. And I'm sure you've got some more questions that are going to make me go more into detail, so I'll save some of those stories for later. But our mission was to basically just create a safe place where people can have fun, like they're home away from home on the internet, and they can just be them.
That's amazing. Did you have anything to say?
It made me think about what you said about the students in China and how you expected there to be big cultural differences, but oftentimes humans have far more in common than they do differences. So, common theme.
To go off of that, I feel like it establishes it gets rid of the language barriers, because I feel like gaming is its own language. And so I feel like you understand each other more. And is it international? Like, can any student from all over the world play?
Doesn't have to be a student.
Yeah. Or
we've got
adult
some people that are over 70
That's
that are in
amazing.
it.
That's awesome. So to get right along moving, how does your background in economics influence the way you approach running a nonprofit organization?
So I heavily tend towards Austrian economics. I got into it a little bit in the last episode, how I was kind of drawn to it. And yeah, and that's what drew me into Detroit Mercy too, because that's why I wanted to get my master's there, was because they offered it from the Austrian standpoint. And the Austrian standpoint teaches us to be very open and not go so far in the regulatory side of things. So when we take Aurafury into it, I kind of run a lot of things in that. So if you look at how we ran our Minecraft servers, for instance, we start them as a blank slate, and then the players kind of decide where it goes. We don't come in and say, we're doing this town, we're going to build this spawn thing. No, everything built on the server is that, and we carried that into Vintage Story too. Another game that's kind of similar to Minecraft, and it's one of our most popular games we've ever run. And people are allowed to do what they want in it. There's no rule that says you have to be part of the town or you have to build by this standards or whatever. But technically, people could get together and do that within one small section of the server and say, well, this town can only be 1980s Europe. And that's the way the buildings have to be. And they get those options to do that. And it shows on how much the server's attracted too, because with Vintage Story, we became the world's largest server, and we stayed that way for a while, and we keep going back and forth on it. And if we launch a new server, we immediately just shoot right up to it. It doesn't matter, it could be a terrible server, and we'll launch right up to the top in Vintage Story because we've made a name there. And one of those ways we made that name was, doing that, giving people the freedom to do what they want. But we took it to the admin side too, so you can almost say it's the limited government aspects of how Aurafury runs, because the admins can't use their creative abilities and everything inside the game to just spawn things in that they want. They actually have to work and do everything else like anyone else. And if you're an admin and you have a new player that came in and they don't know how to play the game, for instance, and they want help playing the game, they're not allowed to even teleport to that player. They actually have to walk, just like any other player, and go all the way out there. And it kind of really set us apart in that part. But it's that economics background that came into, this is how the servers are going to run, and it's played in that way.
Wow, that's amazing. From your economic perspective, what type of unique challenges did you come across running a nonprofit?
So it's been financial is probably the toughest part, because you have to sell that, you're doing all these great things. And in a way, it's really, really hard to explain in like a short little bit everything that Aurafury does, and maybe that's one of the things that we're challenged that we need to fix, is that we have to be able to, you know, deliver a quick message. I mean, the safe space is one thing, but we have to go even further than that to show that we do educational things, that we support college clubs, and you know, we are creating podcasts and all that. So we do tons of things beyond just the safe space for our game servers too. So if we found a way to get that message out even better and concise, we can, you know, attract more people to be willing to donate. Mm-hmm. We have been dealing with using like Patreon, for instance, for a number of times. So individuals are just throwing us like $5, $10 or whatever a month, and we run everything on it. And we have almost 2,000 gamers now, and we run the whole thing on about a $6,000 budget.
So does your money come from the government because it's a nonprofit, or
Nope.
because if you're not like earning a revenue from your profit expenses, then how are you making anything to, you know, run these servers and run?
It's pure donation. So you have individuals that are either they're on the servers and they want to help out. They're like, this is cool, we like it, we want to support it. Mm-hmm. And then we have individuals that aren't necessarily on any servers and they throw money in it. And we have some individuals that are on our esports, so we incubate esports teams too, another thing that we do. And some of those individuals over the years have kind of thrown money into the pot too to keep us going.
Okay, that's awesome. Can you share, going into that, any success stories or impactful initiatives your organization has undertaken, and how economics played a role in achieving those outcomes?
So, taking the more laid back, I guess you could say, focus as far as running the servers go, not having you know, this overbearing hand of this is how we're going to do things, has paid off for us so many times. And we call ourselves a second chance community too, so it's not one of those things where you do one thing wrong and you're just completely gone. We've brought people back in too that have done things that weren't so great either. So for instance, we had an individual once that was in the community, and it was Pride Month. Mm-hmm. So we just did, you know, a happy Pride Month thing, and we didn't even change our logo. I mean, our logo was still the blue flame or anything. So it wasn't like we did all this, you know, crazy in your face type thing. And even if we did, I mean, it's part of who we are, and it's good to represent people through those kind of holidays. And this individual got all huffy puffy and angry about it, and they'd gotten one warning about it, and then they came back again about it, and eventually we just said, okay, goodbye. Like, there's not much you can do if they're going to continue to, you know, throw the hate, because you don't want that going at your people that you're supposed to be helping and representing and everything. So you cut those individuals out. But the problem was, when you cut somebody out like that, how do you break through to them to fix the behavior? How do you educate them and bring them back? Well, in this person's case, their son joined Aurafury later after the father had been kicked out. And the son had some sort of like a disability of some sort. It may have been autism, if I'm remembering correctly. But they came into Aurafury, they were welcomed with open arms, they had a great time, they were having so much fun on their servers. So they went to their dad and they said, hey, I want you to join me on this server. And it's the server he got kicked out of. So he sends me a message, and he goes, Jacob, I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing now. I understand it. So you welcomed my son in, no questions asked. He had a blast, he had fun, and you know, I want to be able to join my son over here too. Can I come back? And it's like, well, of course. We welcome him back in, and yeah, sure enough, he's back on the server for months, and they had a lot of fun together. But that's the big thing, is you can't just, you know, kick people out and be done with it if you want people to have a chance. We've had situations too where, you know, it's the opposite. So there's this one time that there's people in voice chat, and they were talking with one another, and they got onto the gender assault. How we got to that point, or how the individuals got to that point.
The gender of salt?
Yes, but assault.
That doesn't even make sense. The
No.
gender, I thought it was like gender of assault, but
No,
gender
no,
of
assault. The min room.
Just
Like,
making sure I heard you.
yeah, you
Yeah,
heard
me
me
too,
correct.
me
It's
too.
like this is how internet discussions go.
Right.
You know,
I
people get
mean,
together and
yes.
they talk about the strangest of things.
I mean, you can think about it. It's like saying, is water wet or is it not?
Was there a decision made?
Well,
Did we figure it out?
so there was arguments saying that salt had no gender, and then the arguments got into there are only two genders, and that's the issue where it got to the point. So there was somebody that was on the call that was new to the community, and they were transgender, and they felt attacked. They felt hurt when it got there, even though the people in the call, there was no intention of that. Like, it was a stupid discussion by all means. And one person specifically nailed down on it and goes, no, there's only two genders. And of course the other person, gone. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I went and checked on them, and then they told me how they felt, and they said this was terrible and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I understood how you can feel that way. And then they told me, I want you to ban them. I want you to get rid of them. You know, prove that you're the safe space. He literally said that to me. It's like, and it's like, it's not how we take things here. Because if I ban him, he's just going to go off thinking, well, this is stupid. Well, why was I even banned for? He's not even going to understand it, for one thing. And we can say, well, you were mean to somebody that was transgender, or you were insensitive in the way you were saying. But how do you get them to get better? How do you get them on your side if you just kick them out for one thing that they didn't even understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled that person aside, and we had a discussion about it. And I sent them some actual studies and things. It's like there's the actual, scientific, like gender is a spectrum. It can be many, many different things. And they don't have to be one specific side or another. They could be somewhere in the middle, or it could be off into some point in space, like off there. And he goes, I never thought of it that way. But that discussion would have never happened if I just banned him.
So how do you get this intel? Like, are you watch the servers as people are playing, and so you get this intel, and so that you can discuss it with the others? Or?
Oh gosh, there'll be mornings I'll wake up and I'll have 100 private messages waiting for me on Discord from Aurafury of different things that happen. And most of it is not bad by any means. And a lot of it is just, oh, we should put this mod on this server, you should change this setting, or we should play this game, or you should do this event. So very few of them are actually like issues. But you find out what the issue is, and sometimes it'll even be with your admins, your volunteers and everything, and then you have to go and listen to all the stories. Because you can't just take one side. Mm-hmm. You have to go in blind and assume every party's innocent. I wish the government would do this more.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work to do that. So sometimes something simple that you would think would only take it's like, okay, just slap that person in the hand and be done with it. It'd take me 6 hours to get through everything to make sure that's exactly what happened. But the worst thing you could possibly do is, go after somebody that was completely innocent. Something as simple as taking somebody's message in one channel or one forum and moving it to another and telling them you put that in the wrong channel can be really irritating for some people. So anytime that you take a step as an admin, you have to think all those things through so that you don't go through and, either irritate somebody, get somebody that's innocent, and then of course you have the fact that, the person that may be in trouble may not have done something that bad in the first place either. It could be something really silly that people are angry about. You have to sift through all of that to try to figure it out. And you're not going to be right 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. Like, I've learned a lot over the years.
So as an economics professor and doing other things on the side, how do you find this time? Do you find it during the weekends to assist the people that are needed to be assisted?
It's the weekends, I get off work. Well, last night it was literally like I had somebody that messaged me and said, I have this idea, and I really want to talk to you about this. Mm-hmm. So he sent it to me at 12:30, and we were actually already in bed, and but I couldn't sleep that night, so I just got up and said, hey, you still awake? Because I've known this person for a bit, and I know he doesn't sleep at night either. He's just as big insomniac as me. And I said, okay, what's going on? And we stayed on the phone for an hour and a half through Discord, just talking about the future of, one server, and we talked about some things in the past because he was talking about possibly coming back as a volunteer and things like that. So it's in the middle of the night sometimes. So I've had those nights where the server goes down at 3 in the morning, and then my phone's buzzing, and I'm getting up at 3 in the morning to go help, fix the servers. There was actually an individual that had interviewed me on this kind of stuff before. They're trying to decide if she wanted to start her own server, and when she heard that part, that was it.
That was like,
She's
I'm
like,
not doing it.
You can keep this.
Yeah, I really admire you for your work. That's amazing.
So the most common time, of course, is when, like, we had spring break, a lot of hours. Christmas break, a lot of hours. Like, I had a Christmas break once where I put 70 hours in a week. It was actually the week of Christmas, because we had some issues where we lost some players in the esports teams, and we had some division and the goals of what the esports teams wanted to do, and I had to find a way to split that into 3 teams and not lose anybody. And it was a lot of work to recruit a whole bunch of people in, and not everything turned out perfectly, but it ended up making a lot more people happy than if we just said, we're done.
Yeah, that's amazing. Moving on to advice that you would give students, what advice would you give to students or aspiring professionals interested in pursuing a career in economics or a nonprofit organization?
So in economics, education's kind of king, and the higher you can go with it, the better. Like the pay increase from going from like a bachelor's to a master's, for instance, is significant, and the amount of doors that it opens. Now, going from master's to PhD, it does make a big difference. Don't get me wrong, but the step difference from bachelor's to master's though is significantly larger. Any chance that you can get to get out there and get experience in anything related to economics too. And economics spans so much, and it intertwines into finance, it intertwines into business and stuff. So you may be a business consultant and find yourself giving advice on what to do about these different economic conditions. Reading. There is so much that can be gained through reading in economics that will set you apart from other individuals and like your understanding. And reading different viewpoints, going into an understanding, even the sides that you do not agree with. So many people say, it's like, well, obviously I don't agree with Karl Marx. I mean, we've seen the kind of things that comes about from Karl Marx. But regardless, there's a lot of people that still strongly believe in what he does, or at least believe in parts of it. And the only way you can ever understand where those people are coming from is you understand the very knowledge that they're drawing on, basically. So if you can do that studying and you can learn that, you'll be able to bring people to your side much better. And of course, you as a consultant in an economic position is going to be a lot more better off on that. On the nonprofit side of things, there's going to be a lot of situations where you can volunteer and actually see how these organizations are run. Like you can get in and you can learn about how they've messed up, how they've done really well. Like the best, like if you can get into somebody that's honest, that will actually tell you exactly, this is what we screwed up, don't do that. That could be more valuable than this is what you should do in many cases. We actually had an individual once, I can just say who it is because he's part of our team, he's awesome. He goes by the Dilly. The Dilly joined Aurafury quite a while ago now. It was actually before he was even a developer for Vintage Story. But he lived in Europe, and he came on and he said, hey, I'm just curious how you guys run. That was basically it. He wasn't looking to be an admin or really do any volunteering or anything from any standpoint. And it's like, sure. I opened the entire back end of our Discord server up, and I let him see how all the servers and everything were done. And then after like a month of him just kind of observing, he was like, I kind of want to volunteer now. I want to become part of the team. And he became a very integral part of the team. He's made huge differences in how our service runs because he's got a lot of the technical knowledge. If you were going to be somebody that runs a nonprofit, or if you're going to run a business too, it doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit or a business, there's going to be a whole bunch of gaps in your knowledge. Like Mark Skousen in microeconomics, you're going to hit this very soon. he talks about all the different things that entrepreneurship should limit, and one of those big areas is ignorance. And, like, what can we do to, you know, lower the amount of unknown? Obviously, you can only do so much studying. You can only, you know, learn about so many different fields. So you're gonna have to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. Like, so Aurafury's jumped into all these different things that I don't necessarily have a ton of background in. It's like, yeah, I have technical knowledge. I can build a computer. I can't run a server from the back end doing Linux commands and everything. I spent time trying to learn some of it, but then I realized this is silly of me, because if I spend all this time learning this, I can't be focusing on these other things that are going on in Aurafury. And you got to learn that really quick as a business owner too, that you have to be able to bring those people in to have the knowledge area gaps that you have to fill in so that you'll be successful. And another person, Justin, he joined our board, and he's on the esports side of things. I have learned a lot from him on esports. Like, when Aurafury first got into esports, I knew very little, almost nothing. And then he came in, and I learned so much from him. And then, of course, we learned from failure too. Our first teams that we put were blunders. They were not, you know, perfect by any means. They weren't even close to being. Like, many would say that it wasn't a great success. And we even had, you know, somebody that was very close to us that came through, and he struggled with the, you know, the failure end of things, and he still hasn't come back. And I wish he'd come back, but he's still a friend of ours. But we learned so much going through all that process, and he helped us do that too. You know, not everything you do is going to be a 100% success. A lot of your things you're going to try in your business, that one's going to, oh, that didn't work, let's try something else. Like, keep going. And then you got to pick yourself up and keep doing that. And, you know, now I've gone from that and being able to transfer the knowledge that I've learned into there, developing esports, you know, teams and programs at colleges now. And of course, Aurafury's moved into that space too, to help colleges kind of start these things. So we've gone from, you know, failing into success, basically. You know, we learned all the, this is not, you don't do it this way. Do it this way.
That's amazing. My final question, thank you for sharing, is are there any emerging trends or developments in the nonprofit sector that you believe students should be aware of as they prepare for their future careers?
So the nonprofit realm, in the past about year or two, we've seen a lot of drawback on the donation side of things. So that's going to be one of the areas that almost everyone that's coming into nonprofits are now going to be, you know, struggling with. So when we were waiting on our 501c3 status to come back, one of the things that we were really excited to get in on was Amazon's Smile program, for instance. So are you too familiar with that one?
No.
So basically, if you get recognized as an official nonprofit with 501c3, then you can get listed on Amazon, and then you as a Amazon purchaser can say, I want this nonprofit to be the one that you donate to. And then whatever you purchase, a certain percentage of that would get donated to the nonprofit. So we were trying to find all these different ways that we can allow people to donate without necessarily having to just straight up give us cash. You know, because not everyone's in a position to do that. Not everyone wants to do that either, because some people just want to be able to get something back, and it's completely understandable. That went away right after we got our 501c3. So we watched that drop out. It was like dominoes. We watched all these different programs that we were planning on going for just suddenly just dry up and disappear. So what we've had to do, of course, is just start, well, how can we break down every possible barrier for somebody to be able to donate to us? So the only way you could donate to us at that time was PayPal and Patreon. And I'm like, okay, well, what if we add it? And we went, okay, you got it through Venmo, you can go through GoFundMe, you can go through Benefity. Benefity is this thing that if your employer allows you to do it, you can donate like a certain amount of money, and then they'll match it, and then it'll go to that nonprofit. So we got listed in there. And another huge thing, of course, beyond just donating, is going to be the marketing side of nonprofits. There are a lot of nonprofits that just struggle. They really struggle in this area. And it's a lot of work, and it constantly just gets neglected. So that's definitely an area that they need help in. And of course, a lot of them are probably struggling in the volunteer scape. So that means if you're going to be going into that space and you're going to get hired, say, by a nonprofit, you're going to have to be able to provide in those particular areas to make yourself marketable, to get up into things like the management and things like that, because I imagine that's where most of you would want to be in that particular instance.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to Layla's questions.
I just had a quick lightning round for you. But first, I just want to say, like, all your hard work, and of course Erica's hard work with your nonprofit is, from what you've said, very clearly reflected in the community that you've created. And I also feel the same way about all the clubs that you've brought to BC. And obviously, that's taken a lot of work, but wow, it's just awesome.
Thank
So, sorry, Mary's dying. Okay, yeah, but I have this quick lightning round for you, and then I guess we'll let you go. Okay, so I just have a couple questions. Just try to answer them. Hopefully I don't stutter, and try to answer them as quickly as possible. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. What's your parents' nickname for you?
Jake.
What's your favorite book?
Fallout Equestria.
Your favorite show?
Spice and Wolf.
Invisibility or super strength?
Super strength.
Would you rather be a vampire or a werewolf?
Werewolf.
Do you possess Riz?
No idea what that is.
Say something in Chinese.
Daba.
Ask for permission or forgiveness?
It depends on the country.
What was your last Halloween costume?
I actually can't remember on that one.
Who inspires you?
My father and my wife.
What did it require to be one of the main contributors to Sears' downfall?
Oh my God. Was that how I feel, or what did it?
No, what did it require?
What did it require? You honestly didn't have to really do much. They were already on their way down. If you want, I could tell you all about the Clean and Bright. That one was a fun one.
That'll be part 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. Give him a round of applause.